see this guy? Imagine being him. HSG finally paid off. You just landed an amazing job at a top consulting company. On your first day of work, you meet your clients, which are European companies seeking advice to navigate the Asian market. Back at the office, you dig into the Asian market and discover your first key learning. Asia is not only China. Asia is a set of countries with a large variety of ethnicities, a presence of all world religions, highly disparate market development stages, and unequally distributed FDI inflows. Infrastructure and political systems vary from country to country, and if that weren't enough, there seems to be an infinite number of socioeconomic indices to be considered. So how on earth are you going to be able to navigate this mega diverse region? Stay calm and come up with a solution. GDP per capita is your friend here. You come up with a solution to cluster Asia into fully developed, developing middle income, and low-income emerging markets. Your clients are already impatient to hear the market you chose for their market entry into Asia. You, however, know better and insist on the necessity to first learn how to navigate Asia. By clustering the market, understanding the specific implications of this, looking at each case specifically. You follow up with a few examples to illustrate the discrepancies which arise within the different markets. Did you know that unlike Europe, ASEAN is actually not a free trade area? Did you know that Vietnam is the only country in Asia with a majoritarily Christian population? Did you know that the Philippines, despite their low development stage, are a strong player in the digitalization topics? Did you know that Malaysia, despite its middle-income state, has become a major service hub in ASEAN? And finally, did you know that Singapore is the regional knowledge hub of ASEAN? Your client is in unrest. He was expecting you to already provide him with a clear plan with regards to a new profitable market entry strategies for Asia, as well as the best location for a make or buy choice. You, however, explain that a market entry is bound to high commitment and investment resources and should be planned carefully. You enter the market through a waterfall or shower strategy. Either way, it is challenging to accelerate your ongoing business and to ultimately establish a strong regional footprint. The client isn't too happy. He expected quick results and a make or buy decision. You, however, reiterate that it isn't that simple and manage to convince him to accompany you and your team on a study tour in Asia. So you all pack up your bags and head off to Singapore. When he arrives in Singapore, your client, who has some free time on his hands, decides to visit one of the famous Singapore malls. Given that he's a sports fanatic, he chooses to visit a Nike store, which looks and feels the same as any other he's ever been in. However, he then overhears a woman with a Nike bag talking about a discount she got. He goes and asks her what it's all about.
Just a 10% membership discount.
He then learns that Nike uses franchising as a means to sell its products. The stores are in fact operated by the Subtle Group, who has full discretion when it comes to operating the stores, including the marketing and the sales.
Absolutely not. Looks like any Nike store anywhere.
The next morning, he tells you about his experience at Nike and asks about the make or buy story and if an alternative market entry strategy could be a possible solution for him. You then introduce the concept of localization. In the previous case, Nike's products do not require a strong localization effort with regards to the sales process. Nike is therefore able to outsource the entire selling process. You then illustrate your story with examples of Unilever and Procter & Gamble. Unilever, who is strongly present with its food and beverages business in Asia, has built a customer insight and innovation center in Singapore to actively tailor its products to local needs. Its products clearly need a strong localization. Procter & Gamble went even further by building a mega innovation center, even bringing innovation back to Western markets. You carry on with another crucial concept. Illustrating with Heineken's expansion throughout Asia, you introduce the concept of anchoring. Heineken entered the market early, forming a JV with Fraser and Neave back in 1931. Once turnover increased, Heineken bought out its partner's share and took full control of the holding. The group currently controls 30 breweries in 14 countries in APAC, with a strong market share in Singapore, Malaysia, and Vietnam. This acquisition increased Heineken's financial and geographical exposure to emerging markets, ideally positioning them to take advantage of the increase in beer volume as population and per capita consumption are expected to grow. Heineken further acquired a majority stake in Guinness anchor Berhad, who up until recently produced and marketed Heineken's very own Tiger beer in Malaysia. The final concept you want to highlight is the concept of economies of scale. Make or buy decisions relate heavily to the ability to scale up quickly. Nestle is a strong example, adjusting their fast-moving foods, drinks, and snacks business to local needs with the help of the market expansion service provider DKSH. Nestle decided to outsource KitKat distribution to DKSH, who distributed KitKat alongside its regional network with a variety of other regional products, hence reducing the overall distribution price. While doing this, Nestle actually increased turnover, including by over 60% in Thailand by keeping investment in distribution costs down. While ramping up volume in the future, Nestle has the opportunity to one day overtake distribution themselves as well. The next day, you and your client conduct a company visit with BSH, meeting a regional strategy manager and marketing and sales expert. The key messages can be described as the following.
You have emerging, developing, and develop. Generally in business there's no right and wrong. Every strategy has no right and wrong. It's what best fits the business. And I want to elaborate a bit more into this is that if you compare fast-moving consumer goods with a luxury good, you will have different demands, you will have different customer sets, you will have different perceived values. So there is never right and wrong even within the consumer goods perspective. Every product works differently. Yes, you don't sell ice to Eskimos. The very reason for that is every market has demands. It depends on a couple of things. It depends on how big your base of operations is. If the distribution has gone up to a particular size, then yes, you should start to think about how you want to operationalize your business in those countries.
The field trip is finally over. You are very impatient to share your results with your client. Based on your findings, you have come up with this fancy consulting framework, which says, get your basics right, know your market, know your company. But there is no one size fits all. Look at every case individually and you should be fine. Whew, it's been a long, hot week here in Singapore. It's finally time to head back to cozy little Switzerland.